What's up everyone? This is my review video on chapter 594 of Bleach, which just came out, titled RubDolls. Please watch my live reading first if you want. I uploaded that. That's simply my live reaction to reading the chapter. So if you've seen that already, you can kind of gauge, as I mentioned in that video, what I'm going to rate this out of 10. Honestly, no huge reactions. I would definitely, if 5 was average, then I would rate this chapter about a 4.2 out of 10. And that's not horrible because 5 is average. It's slightly below average. And I have to be brutally honest, this chapter was just very dull for me. There's some good parts which I mentioned in the live reading, which I will remark on, and a lot of stuff to talk about. But overall, as a chapter, I have to give my honest rating. And even if you guys hate me and say, "Oh, how can you do that to Bleach?" As an honest reviewer, that's what I have to do. I have to be honest, and I want to be honest, even if it's going to cause brutal reaction. I don't think it should, because, like, hey, I have the right to give a chapter a below average rating if I want to. So, first off, let's just start off by talking about what happened initially. So first off, it seems like the scientist captain, I forgot his name, but the scientist captain stabs his sword into Hitsugaya, and before he does so, he creates this sort of aura that morphs the sword into what seems like a alien, or an alien face or a female face at the tip of the sword, and he stabs it into him, which revives him, from what I can tell, but also paralyzed. No, he was paralyzed because of the initial medication administered. So now a second drug is being administered to continue with his experiments, which is great because, again, I remarked in my live reading video why I love this personality, how he works, this whole thing of his playing just this very quirky, weird person who you think initially is just doing weird stuff, but then you realize almost everything he does is genius. And here he is again, killing two birds with one stone, really. First off, subduing Stern Ritter and also people who have turned against them unnecessarily, and also increasing his own powers by experimenting on new drugs that he can potentially use in the future to boost his power level. Obviously, these drugs are quite, they're not perfect, but in terms of battle prowess and subduing the enemy, they're pretty amazing, and we've only seen one so far. So now he's doing this new one, and it seems to have taken over him, and it seems to have taken quite a long time and causing quite a bit of pain. But this black sort of venom, similar to that of the Spider-Man films, I think the third film of Spider-Man in the old Spider-Man series, sort of envelops this guy, and it's very interesting. I think I'm predicting it's some sort of maybe, if it goes with Spider-Man, which I think it'd be awesome if it does, it's some sort of like new suit, similar to what happened in Spider-Man with the black, inky sort of webby goo that envelops Peter Parker, otherwise known as Topher Grace, the actor. Honestly though, I think this one obviously is more, it's not as gooey and weird and alien as that in the Spider-Man series. It's more just one full black mush, but still it's interesting to see what happens. And that scene ends with the scientist captain stalling while the medication takes over. So excited to see what happens with that. Next off, we have here pretty much the the other big scene, and basically, you guys have read the chapter. I do have to remark once again from the live reading that I do not. I'm so over these female Stern Raiders. I don't think their personalities are all that. I don't think they're interesting at all. I acknowledge the author trying to put in some new personalities, but I just think they're very dull. They have really nothing going for them other than their somewhat unique personalities. They actually, despite the different hair and stuff, they're all the same to me, and the powers are not that unique in my opinion. So I was just, it just seemed very generic to me, and especially in the Bleach universe. So moving on from that, we do have something quite interesting. I remarked in the live reading quite a few stuff about Captain Kuchiki. One thing I do want to address is the fact that the author copped out, and rather than killing this guy off, he revived him. The author made it very, very obvious that this guy was killed. And then he pulls this stunt where he survives somehow and is revived. I just thought that was the hugest cop-out ever. Like, he made it very, very clear that this guy died without showing his massacred body. They showed all this blood spurting out, like gallons of blood from his own blades. And other manga reviewers such as King of Lightning was like, yeah, this guy's dead for sure when that chapter was released. And they're like, there's no way. I mean, it is Bleach, so we don't know for sure, but most likely he's dead. And so I thought about that, and I was like, okay, the Bleach universe really doesn't have that many, switcheroos like this. But it tends to never have anyone really die. Like, sure, they have the bad guys typically destroyed and killed, but most like 99% of the time, have you ever seen even a supporting character killed off? Like, rarely. Name like 4 in the comments below. Name 3, just 3, or 2, or just 1. So it's a rare occurrence, and I think with this move, it's just made very clear, like 600 chapters in the Bleach, the author has the nature of a man he just doesn't want any of his precious characters killed off at all. Any of the good guys, it's rare to have them killed. Like, sure, there have been some good guys who were sacrificed and it was very honorable and stuff, but generally, aside from the bad guys, it's just like, if it's a supporting character who's quite strong, we know how the author works now. A little bit of a cop-out, and I've expressed my opinions on this before for other manga review chapters of other manga, but just to recap, I pretty much said, like, although I love happy endings and so forth, and I'm always rooting for the happy ending and for the good guys to survive and stuff, I just think it's very unrealistic and a huge cop-out if you don't kill anyone. And unfortunately, the real world doesn't work like that. So despite me wanting everyone to be happy and alive, it somewhat takes away from some of the realism. And I know you're wondering, like, what the heck, realism? Bleach is so far from real. But there's different planes of realism and being realistic. Despite all the supernatural stuff happening in Bleach, I do think that what, in my personal opinion, makes a manga stand out even more is the plane of a chapter being very realistic when it can, when it relates to the human world, such as how many people die. Like, that doesn't necessarily involve anything supernatural. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, realistically, when you have such a huge war, it just doesn't make sense for none of the big characters to die. Like, one of them has to. That's just realistic. So anyhow, end of my rant. I mean, I could go on and on, but we don't have all day. So then we had this new character, and slowly but surely, it's sort of revealed what his power was. I do have to tip my hat off to this whole alphabet thing that the Stern Raiders have. It is definitely cool to have a Japanese author adopting American things. Obviously, there's different aspects of different nations. A lot of people say the Stern Ritters resemble uh, resemble the Nazis from Germany, and so on and so on. But I do think, the author didn't have to do this, but he did, and so he's assigned alphabetical letters, in which is an American thing and an English thing and a British thing, to each of the Stern Ritters, and then he assigned this man who's just been revealed, and his power's been revealed in this chapter, to the letter L, which stands for love. I don't know how it worked in Japan or in Japanese, but there you go, L for love. And that's just pretty awesome that he didn't have to do that. Perhaps he just wanted to throw that in and use other elements of other manga, or I mean not other manga, other countries or other nations, but it's quite awesome that he did it. It's pretty awesome, and maybe it's because he knows there's a lot of American readers, or just because he wanted to. I just think it's awesome. The fact that this guy's so feminine and he's like all lovey-dovey, huge surprise. Didn't want it like this because, for me, I thought he was pretty badass before he spoke this chapter and revealed how he was. He's somewhat of this sort of obese, fairy mage-like old man, somewhat like a biker guy, but not heavily tattooed, not tattooed at all. Somewhat Indian because obviously, he looks like it, and then he's somewhat like a mage or wizard, with his staff, with the eye on his staff and the wings. It's kind of like a cartoonish, kiddish in a way. And then he's floating on this, I guess it's a disc or a basket. Reminds me of the Dragon Ball. Reminds me a little bit of Fairy Tail, and his overweightness obviously adds on to the playfulness and the cute cuddly wizard image. From there on, he used his love power to not affect the enemies, but hit one of his comrades. One of the big qualities of Stern Raiders, which is that they don't mind hurting or taking advantage or using their comrades, not just for fun, but for their own enjoyment. In this case, though, he makes these two female Stern Raiders fight over him. He hits one of them, and then his power one of his powers is revealed. He makes them fall in love with him, and he turns these two girls on each other to fight for his love, when in reality he's controlling them. I think it's interesting because unlike the zombie Stern Raider, he can also power them up, as seen in this panel where he pretty much makes one of her arms all jacked. I think it's interesting because it's a different type of zombification, very similar to the other Stern Raider, but done with the theme of love. It's very interesting how they can have two powers so similar. This one is obviously better in my opinion because you can power people up, but at the same time it's like, does bigger, bulkier muscles really make you powerful? Because the strongest people in the series, in this universe, they haven't really bulked up. I guess in Bleach, the laws of physics do not work in that their muscles do not get bigger the stronger that they get. Having said that, it is very interesting, and obviously these two women Stern Raider, or at least the Stern Raider who's not, the female Stern Raider who's not been controlled, is really acknowledges this as bad news. She curses, then she's like, "Idiot, stop, Minnie," and obviously this is not a good thing that one of their fellow Stern Raider comrades is doing this sort of stuff. So this fool, not fool, this wizard Stern Raider is obviously, messing around, playing around with these girls and sort of being narcissistic and forcing them to fight each other for his love, despite it being obviously through his control. So thus ends the chapter, and I thought, again, a somewhat mediocre chapter. 4.2/4.3 out of 10. Quite quick, and I do think it could have been done better, but I am over this and I'm ready to move on. I want to see something more awesome. I want to move back to Kenpachi or Ichigo or something, you know, faster paced, more interesting. It started to slow down. Let me know in the comments if you disagree or agree and why, or just write whatever you want. Write potatoes or egg salad if you want. And more importantly, like, favorite, comment, share, and subscribe. I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, and if you're not a subscriber already, hit the subscribe button. It's free. Let you know when my next video is out, and I'll see you guys in my next manga review or manga/anime discussion or live reading or whatever. Thanks for watching. See ya.